Hey everybody, welcome to Live Coding with Jesse. Today we're going to finish up this footer. I took the morning off to watch my kids when my wife had a doctor's appointment, so I haven't done much, but I had one really good idea. At least it seems good now. I only had it 5 minutes ago, so we'll see. We kept having some conflicts with the styles yesterday when we were working on this footer. So I thought, why are we even keeping the old styles? We took everything off of this page, so we don't need any of them. So I went to the top of our main master template here, and I commented out all this CSS. And when I did that, it changed the footer a bit. All of this stayed the same, which is good. It should have. But down here in the footer, I have a little difference here. If you remember, we had a different font and we had a shadow on it before, and we had some buttons. This was styled more like a button, all these links. So now this is using the Materialize styles. Still needs a little bit of work, but now we won't have to fight with all those styles that are there. Now what this does mean is that we're not going to be able to keep any of the elements that were there like intact as is, which is okay with me. They all needed to be redone anyway. But I think this will make things a lot easier for us. It'll be pretty straightforward now. When we try to do something with Materialize, it should work. And all we have to worry about is just any customizations that we need to make on top of Materialize. So today I'd like to get this looking exactly the way that we want it to look. I'm thinking 2 Pomodoro sessions, so 2 25-minute sessions of code. In between, we'll do our 5 minutes of question and answer, and then we'll finish up with some question and answer. It should be about an hour and a half, assuming we get the normal number of questions. And during that time, what I'd like to accomplish is getting these headers to all be the same, and I'd like everything to be aligned to the right. These need to be buttons according to basically this. Well, either you know what I like better, on a dark background like this, I actually like what I call the inverted button. So I probably didn't make that up. I'm sure I got it at some point from somewhere, but I don't remember where I got that term from. So basically, if you don't understand, you'll see when we do it, but it's going to be just a white outline of a button, and you'll be able to see the green behind it. So we're going to do those buttons. We're going to fix this so that it looks a little bit nicer, and then we'll double check on a few screen sizes, how everything stacks up. That's not okay. Good. Yeah. So that's not too much, but it's going to be nice, especially for those of you who maybe are just getting into things with CSS and aren't super confident with doing things with CSS, or maybe just working with Materialize. So I would say at a level of difficulty, this one's going to be like down at like a 1 or a 2. It's going to be a really beginner-friendly stream. But if you're not a beginner, please stick around, because we're still, can get into some more in-depth things in the question and answer sessions, and there's always people asking questions that are, unrelated to what we happen to be doing in this particular stream. So I see just a few people in the live chat. So hey, how's it going? Thanks for joining us. So I did schedule this stream a little bit later than normal, so we have not quite as many viewers as we normally do at this point, but that's probably my fault. Oh, okay. John Hansen says he's getting an echo. Is anybody else getting an echo? Let me know. It'll be a few seconds because of the delay, but it shouldn't be. Okay, I was double checking to make sure that my voice wasn't playing over any speakers here. I don't hear anything. Okay, awesome. So we'll get started. If you know, I switched back to my main camera. So far I've had no problems with this main camera because I had to restart my Mac because it froze yesterday. Right when I was about to leave, it froze. So I just shut it down and got to it today when I got into the office. But the good thing is, since I had to restart everything anyway, I updated Visual Studio Code, I updated Atom, I updated about 10 packages in Atom. So I did a lot of updates that I had been putting off. So I guess that's ended up being good, and the camera works now. So I have my second camera ready to go, so I actually have it over on the side so you can see I'm bringing it in to the shot. But in case this one freezes, I'll just bring the other one in and we won't have to mess with it throughout the stream. Okay, so now we got a little bit more activity here in the live chat. I see Umberto's here. Hey Umberto, I got your direct message on Twitter from a day or two ago. I'm sorry I didn't respond to that. I checked it and then I didn't have time to respond and then I forgot about it. But I just remembered it now when I saw you. So sorry about not responding, but I did get it. So I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you. Okay, let me set my timer. We're going to do 25 minutes of code. Alright, so first thing I think I want to do is get these headers looking, kind of uniform. Right now, this is an H5 and these are H2s. So these are being pulled in from the content management system, and we hard-coded this in. What I think we ought to do, especially now that I see everything without any styles, from the old styles, I think I'd like to just hard code these as well. I don't think that these things change very often. I know we talked about this yesterday, of things that don't change often, and I mean like aren't likely to change more than once a year. I don't really have a problem hard coding them because it's not really a big deal for me once a year to go in and change a line or two. Hopefully this entire site is redone in a year, so I may never have to come back in and change anything. But I don't want this to be an H2. I don't want these to be as they are. I want them to have the proper classes to make them materialize buttons. We will have to, so they don't have that inverted button style in Materialize by default. At least they didn't the last time I checked. They are always adding new things, so it's possible I missed it. But I do have some styles that I've made, in addition to the Materialize styles that work with Materialize. So it's just kind of a little add-on that I use personally in my project. So we'll just have to find that from a previous project and put that in. But we're gonna redo this. I think that'll just make things a lot easier. Once we get that done, then we'll work on this down here. Alright, so let's go down the bottom. I think actually we should be able to get rid of a lot of this JavaScript now. So I'm thinking it's fancy blocks. Yeah, I'm just gonna comment this out right now. We'll see if we get any errors, but there shouldn't be anything on the page that requires this JavaScript. As we start adding in more elements, we might find that we're pulling in something from a template that does need that, and then we'll decide what to do. Same way, we have quite a bit here for YouTube. I don't know that we'll need that. I'm not going to go through that now. We're focusing on the footer right now. But we should be able, it looks like we should be able to cut down the length of this file significantly. So even though we're adding in some hard-coded things that will add to the length, I think we'll be able to cut out enough that it should at least even out. Hopefully be a bit shorter than it originally was. And if it comes down to it, we can always separate these things out into their own components if it gets too large. So we're looking at these two columns here. So this is our center column, and then here we have our right column. So let's get rid of these, and I think we will need to go into our CS file, so our C# file, and get rid of some things, some lines in there, or else it's going to throw an error. So let's find that. What happened? You not let it open the folder. Okay, let me grab this folder. So let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to find this folder, and I'm assuming I could just drag it over here. I think I can, right? Nah. Let's see if I can just drag it here. Whoa. Okay, cool. I don't need these. Don't need this. Don't need this. And did it? Okay. All right, so we need to find where we were. There we go. Master pages. So this is what I was looking for. Oops. All right, I got a call. I got to take this call. So I'm going to mute my mic and take this call. All right, sorry about that. Now's a great time for the normal disclaimer. This show is just me doing my normal work as a front-end developer. I'm employed at a small university, full-time, so occasionally I do get a knock at the door or a phone call that I need to take. So the goal is just to show you what my workday is like, and maybe if you're interested in front-end development, or you, like me, pretty much work on your own as a developer and don't know what it's like for other developers, I thought this might be kind of helpful to see me doing my thing, making mistakes, trying to work through it. So that's why we have interruptions like that, and I don't mind when it happens. I don't like if it's a really long interruption. I don't want to waste your time, but that one actually was somewhat related to what we're doing. So evidently someone has a link to some page on the main website that, from what is described, these are the words of the person on the phone, not mine, that it works, but it doesn't. So I don't know what that means, but two guys from the IT department are going to stop by my office in about an hour and 15 minutes, and they said they think it'll be easier if they could just show me. which is cool. I don't even have to go anywhere, so I'm fine with that. But anyway, I don't mind helping out with stuff like that. Actually, currently, right now, I'm the only person that knows any web development that has access to these files, so I probably am the right person to go to for that. In a few weeks, though, there will be somebody else here working full-time that will have access, so it won't all be on me. Okay, so let's so Phillips just said in the live chat, can we do bad lip syncing while you are on the phone? That would have been hilarious. Yeah, so early on when I was streaming, there were a few times when I got calls and I just talked and everyone could hear what I was saying, and then somebody, I can't remember who it was, but somebody in the live chat was like, you really need to mute your mic in case like something is said that shouldn't be said on, you know, on YouTube for everyone to hear. And so that was a good idea. So now I mute when I can, when I remember it. Because occasionally that happens. It's not like big secret things, but sometimes, since I'm in the marketing department, sometimes we get information before it's released to the public so that we can prepare how we want to say things, or, you know, get things ready. So occasionally I might know about something before everyone else is supposed to know about it. So so I'm not trying to keep you all out of my business, you know, otherwise I wouldn't really care, but best better safe than sorry with that kind of thing. Anyway, back to the code. So we use that footer, so that mid content and right content, and we're just going to get rid of all references to those in here. As I said earlier, otherwise we'll get an error because it's going to be looking for those elements and it's not going to find them. So now we've removed them from this C# file, and we'll save that. And did we save? I'm not sure if we actually saved this file, so we may have to get rid of them again. Oh, okay, it did save. Awesome. So I'm going to refresh. We should see nothing in these columns now, and we should get no errors. Okay, awesome. Great. So now what we need to do is set up. So we have our column in here, and we need to do an H5. We're going to do H5. Great. Yesterday I had complained that it wasn't auto-completing my my tags, my HTML tags, and you all had, I'm trying to think who it was. Sorry, I can't remember who it was that said that Emmet is available by default in VS Code. But whoever it was, that was awesome, so thank you. Really sorry I can't remember who that was now. I'm usually pretty good about that. But anyway, when I did the update, one of the things it said that was in the new update was it completed HTML tags now by default, so I was happy about that. So let's bring up, actually I'm going to do this on the other screen. I'm going to scroll down here just to see what was in here, what's supposed to be in here. I'm going to pull that to my other screen so I can copy and paste it easily. And then we'll build this out to match that first column that we had made up here. Whoa. Do we want that to be all caps? I don't think we want that to be all caps. We'll see. We'll see how it looks, but I'm just not sure that I want that much text to be capitalized. I kept waiting for the auto refresh. I'm just so used to that in my other projects. Whoa. That's weird. I thought we had... Oh, okay. I had added these classes onto this. Let's see if I really want this. I'm going to add these classes as well, but now that I look at it, I'm not sure that I want this. So the light class is going to make the font weight smaller, so I think it makes it about 400 font weight. And then if you add the thin class, that makes it 300. We can double check that for sure, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And that's just built into Materialize. Let's see how that looks. So I found that, okay, not bad. So I found that I like how the light and sometimes even the thin font looks, but only on my Mac. So I have nice screens and it looks good. When I try to look at it on an older screen on a Windows computer, it looks terrible and you can barely read the text. So I have to always remember that before I commit to a font weight, I need to check it on older screens, especially for, I mean, really for any site, but if it's an internal site, I know for sure what kind of screens most people are going to be using because there's pretty much a standard Windows computer. We have like Lenovo's with the standard size screen and resolution that I would say like 90% of the people here use. So I can be pretty sure of what they're going to see. So we'll see. We'll just make sure we double check that at some point. I'm not sure why are we getting that space? Oh, okay. I had forgotten. We actually have an image that's going to show up here. I just haven't. We don't have the right source. So see, we have this image. We don't have the right source for it yet. So we'll just have to get this in here. So that explains the difference. The difference here, which, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know that we actually need another logo down here now that I look at it. Because we have this sticky header, we're always going to have a logo visible. Yeah, actually, let's take this out. You know, that's one less image that needs to load on the page, and I think it'd be an unnecessary image. So if we can remove it, then great. All right, awesome. Okay, we're just going to put in just a regular paragraph tag, and then we'll get to those buttons. The buttons will be kind of fun, just to see how we can adjust what comes with Materialize and just kind of make our own variation on it. So let me copy the text here. Whoops. I need to remember, how did we do this with Emmet? There we go. I need to remember to start using Emmet because I think it'll be a lot faster than what I'm used to. Oh, okay, I just checked. No Beer said that it says, I think it's John B is the one who told you that Visual Studio Code had Emmet by default. I think you're right. I think it was John B. I remember it now because I remember saying that John B like officially had the tip of the day, like the best comment of the day or something like that, for telling me that. So anyway, I don't see John B in here, so might not be watching. But if you catch the replay, thanks again, John B. Sorry I forgot that it was you, but thank you because that is going to save me so much time. I'm sure once I get the hang of it. Oops. Okay, let's see. And I want to change. So this should not be two hyphens. Obviously, that needs to be an M dash. So I'm going to look. I'm going to look up the code for that dash. let's see. Okay, so we'll replace this with an M dash, and you'll see, I'll show you the difference in case you're not sure what's going on. So, alright, so I'm going to zoom in, otherwise it's not really going to be obvious. And I'll pull this over as well. So if you can see, on this one we have 2 hyphens, and it's clearly 2 hyphens. You can see the space in between it, right? Here we have a real dash, right? So that's what we're supposed to have here. So this was probably maybe copy and pasted from somewhere or entered into a WYSIWYG editor, and it was probably, if it was copy and pasted, let's say like from a Word document, sometimes if you put 2 hyphens next to each other, depending on the editor, it'll automatically switch it to this dash. So I'm assuming that that's something like what happened, and when it got copy and pasted, it stayed as the two hyphens. I don't know. But anyway, when we see something like that, we'll definitely replace it with the HTML code for that, and then we'll make sure, you know, that it'll render properly. Okay. Let's get rid of this center, right? So you don't want that. And we don't want the center here either. And may as well just put in the next part here. And I'm just going to copy this, paste it, and then I'll bring in the rest. I'm probably about out of time for this Pomodoro session. So if you're asking any questions, I will get to them in just a few minutes. And now that we have this in, this should just at least give us a nice idea of how this is going to look. Still don't have the buttons in yet. But you know, we'll get to that. I may as well try to add them in here until I hear the timer go off. Let's see. Okay, let me do this Emmet style, right? Div dot. Is it button? Or is it BTN? Now I can't remember what it is, though. BTN. Alright, let's try it like that. I can't remember if I spell out button or if it's BTN, so we're about to find out. Apply. Okay, cool. That was it. Alright, so here's the default style. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to put another button in here and then put the button in there, and then we'll change the styles. To do that inverted button that I was telling you all about at the beginning of the stream. So this should give us all the buttons we want. There we go, great. Okay, obviously they're not all going to say apply. This will say donate, this will say visit. Right now it says visit campus, but I personally prefer shorter button text, so I'll just put it as apply and visit. And then this will be, I'll keep this as donate. It says support Franciscan in the button right now, which I think is just way too much text for a button. So we'll see. I'm sure that my boss will let me know if that's if I'm allowed to do that or not at some point. But get a minute. Okay, about 2 minutes left. So we can at least start looking for the code. that I need for this. So I'm trying to think, where did I have the inverted button? Okay, you know what? We did the inverted button on project 1. So I just need to look at, I had project 1, all the code open in Atom earlier today, and I thought, hey, I'm not going to need this anymore, right? And so I closed it out, and here I do need it again. So let's just go to GitHub and grab that code. And, oh shoot, I'm still in my incognito window. Let me go on a window where I'm still logged in, and it'll be easier to find it. And okay, CI React, yep, that's what we want. Let's see if we can search. Great. Okay, so here's our button inverted styles. So let's grab these. Man, I'm being able to search your entire repository for stuff on GitHub is just amazing. Like it's so fast. Okay. Yeah, we'll just grab this, and this should be, yeah, this should be fine. And let's need to bring up our CSS. So there's our new design CSS, and so for now, I'm just going to save this, and I'm going to apply this button inverted class and see what that, actually, we're going to see what that does first thing whenever we get done with question and answer. So for right now, I'm going to scroll up in the live chat up to the top and just go down through and get through as many questions and comments as I can. Then we'll do another 25-minute session of code. And it looks like we're going to be able to get this finished within one more 25-minute session, which is great. Okay, so John Hansen said at the beginning of the stream that he was getting an echo. Turns out there were 2 YouTube windows running at the same time. So, all right, problem solved. I'm glad it wasn't some issue on my end, because I don't really know that much about the audio or the like audio video end of streaming. So if it was a problem on my end, I would have had to do a lot of research. No Beer says, "Hi Jesse, how are you?" Not bad. I mean, honestly, I have a serious lack of motivation today, but other than that, not too bad. I had some bad news about my wife from the doctor this morning, so that's kind of a downer, but I think everything's going to be all right. She's going to have to do some physical therapy for a while, but the doctor thinks that she'll recover. So it's really crazy that she had major surgery a year ago. And this is still related to that surgery. She's still trying to get over. So I feel really bad for her. Actually, the doctor told her she thinks she has post-traumatic stress disorder from what happened, and that that is actually causing pain for her in addition to the physical problems. So that's really stinks. I can't do anything. You know, I can't help her. So. Oh, I know. That was a lot of info. Sorry. Usually when people ask how you're doing, they're expecting like, "Oh, I'm doing all right. How you doing?" But anyway, so that's how I'm doing right now. The stream always gets me going. Like even if the whole rest of the day, I just don't feel like doing anything. Once the stream starts and I start talking to you all, like at least for that time period, I feel motivated to do something. So thank you all for that motivation. And I can usually keep the motivation going for a little while afterwards. So at least if I stream, I get something done that day, something productive done. Okay, John Hanson at some point says never, never say never. When did I say never? Now I can't remember if I said never about something. Let me know what I said never about, because I cannot remember at all what I was talking about then. Gold asks, what editor are you using? I'm sure you got a response to that one. Yeah, definitely. So it is Visual Studio Code. Let me flip over to that. Visual Studio Code. So for the first two projects, I used Atom, switched to Visual Studio Code. For this project, mostly because months ago when I initially started working a little bit with this project, things didn't display right. The syntax highlighting didn't really work well with the C# files. And I had been meaning to try out Visual Studio Code anyway, so I thought, hey, let's just try that. I just assumed Visual Studio Code would probably handle it better. And it did. So I just started using it. So I think it's cool to show different editors as well, because we always have discussions about what editor is the best. So this will be a nice comparison, in that way. If you haven't tried it out yet, you at least get to see it, see what it's like, and see the differences. Okay, so Rook asks, that's cool. This person's name in the live chat is Rook, and then their avatar is actually a rook from like the chess piece, a rook. So anyway, that's cool. My son and I played chess and occasionally, so I enjoy a good game of chess every now and then. But anyway, the question is, I saw in a previous video tests being done when pushing to GitHub. What does that? There's a lot of things you could do that do that. In that particular project, I'm using something called Nightmare. And if you check out that project, so in that video, there'll be a link to the GitHub repo. So if you check out the pull request where we added testing, so I'm trying to think, Kevin added that in pretty early on. So check out some of the early pull requests, and specifically it'll say like testing in the title of it. I can't remember offhand what the PR number is, but Kevin went through a really nice, thorough explanation of what kind of testing was being done, how it was being done, and even some of the other types of testing that we could be doing as well. So that explanation is going to be a much better answer than anything I could give you right now in the stream. So I would check that out for sure if you're interested in more in how we're doing that. All right, so my timer did go off. Let me write down where I left off at. 2:18. Okay. And let's go. Let's set this timer again. All right, so we've already brought in the CSS that we need for these buttons. I probably brought in more than I needed, but let's see. Yeah, I don't know that I need this. This gives us a footer. Maybe we do. I think we do. I think this is the one we want. I think we want the button inverted white. This one will give us a black border. I don't want a black border on the green. If we were going on a white background, this would be okay. I don't know what ended up happening here, but it seems like I named these differently than I would normally do in a project. Probably at some point I needed to change them, and I didn't bother changing the class name, because I don't think this is really what... Yeah, this isn't what I wanted, what I normally mean by an inverted button. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to put in, instead, I'm going to take out this white, and this should be what we want, I think. I can double check that. Color transparent. Actually, you know what? I made a mistake. This would have worked. These are actually the same thing. It's just one has a white border, one has a black border. In any case, we want the white border one for here. I don't think we'll have any need for the black bordered one. So my mistake there at the with that first one. I happened to look at the color variable instead of the background color, and that messed me up. Anyway, let's just add in that class. So button large. We may not even need button large down here, so we'll get rid of that. There we go. I think we'll get rid of this button large class because I don't want really giant buttons down there. I want them to be kind of slim. And we'll just put in, no, I can't remember what it was. Button inverted, okay. And let's see what we get. It should be a white outline and white text. There we go. Great. All right, so now we have these. When you hover, it just fills it up with white. Okay. Not bad. I think it's kind of like more sleek than, let's say, if we had this very bright color here. And I would still say, in certain circumstances we might want to do that. But I don't like having this bright color if we have lots of buttons. So we have two buttons right next to each other and a third one not that far away. I think it's overwhelming. The accent color, which is basically what this is, the accent color, and I mean this is my opinion here, but the accent color is only effective if you use it sparingly. It's supposed to draw the eye because it's different and it's vibrant. If you use it too much, it no longer draws the eye because the eye is used to seeing it, right? So you lose whatever benefit that you had from that accent color. So if you see right now on the page, it's used once. The only time you see that color at all is here at this call to action. So that's how I like to use it. Now, not to say you couldn't use it anywhere else on the page. Certainly, as we scroll down, this won't be in view anymore. You could probably use it somewhere else without really losing the effect. But in general, I try not to use it too often on a page. Okay, probably want, let's put in the correct text in here and just kind of see how it lines up. And I may want a little bit of space between these two buttons. They're kind of close together. Otherwise, it doesn't look too bad. Or, essentially it looks how I wanted it to look. So whether or not that looks bad, I don't know. But I got down what I wanted to. So we're gonna have, which one? This was apply, visit, and donate. And if we can, so I don't want to remove this right now, but I think I do want to talk about removing this with my boss because we're going to have this donate button visible here all the time. So we may be able to get rid of this and then put something else useful in here instead of repeating donate, or just leave it out altogether, and we could have just two columns. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm certain that there's something else useful that could go here. We don't necessarily need this. Yeah, let's put in a little bit of padding, and we'll use DevTools for this just so that we can see beforehand without having to do a bunch of refreshes what we want to do. So let's see. I'm sorry, margin left. I said padding, but we're going to do margin. Let's just add in 8 pixels. I like that. Let's see. 8 pixels looks good to me. Okay, so we're going to add in 8 pixels. I'm just going to do this inline. Yeah, I'm just going to do it inline. If I find that I'm using this same kind of pattern a lot, then maybe I'll do something else with it. Maybe I could make a class. I don't know. I'll figure something out if that happens, but I'm not going to do it right now. I think it would be overkill. So let's say class style, and I'm going to have to remember not to do it the React way, because I've been in React land for too long, and now it's affecting my basic HTML skills. So what do we say? Margin left and 8 pixels. It was just so hard for me not to put curly brackets and camel case that, and to put comments around that. So let's verify that I did that right. Okay, great. Not bad. I think this this font size is just way too small. I want to double check and see what size it actually is. Ooh, 10. What's that? Font size 15. That really, man. Maybe it's just the resolution on my monitor, but that looks really small. Like, definitely not 15. I want to see where that's being pulled in at. Font size 15. I kind of like having the baseline font size at least 16 pixels. Let's see what how much of a difference that would make. Not a lot, just a slight difference here. For most of the text, the interior text in this section, we're going to use that Materialize, that responsive font class that they have. But I think the footer can be a smaller font size. Alright, I'm going to leave that for now. I'm going to have to think about the best way to handle this, you know, because the font's being set at several different screen sizes. Let's just try it out right now. I think I may HTML. Let's see. I just don't want to override too much. So let's see what happens if we do HTML font size 16 pixels. We'll save that and let's see what it does. And what I want to do is shrink this down and see if we're going to override everything, and is it going to look too big on a smaller screen. Okay, and then finally I want to test to see what this does as flow text. So this is that responsive font. Okay, wonderful. Alright, so that's perfect. That's going to work for us. We're basically resetting so that we're at minimum we're always having at least a 16 pixel font size, but it's not messing up our responsive font. So that's good. So I'm fine with that. Okay. Now Let's see what else we need. Whoa, I don't like that. Oh, I see why it's like that. You know what? Let's take, and instead of having a left margin on this second one, let's put the margin, a right margin on this one, so when it gets to, when it stacks, we don't have this weirdness going on. And also we need some, we need a margin between these as well. So let's just move this off of here. We'll put it here, and we'll change this from left to right. Whoa. And then while we're in here, let's add, actually let's just take this off completely. Let's add a margin of 0, right 8 pixels, bottom 8 pixels, and then left 0 pixels. I'm really glad that we decided to do the footer now, because otherwise we may have to be like scrolling down a lot to see it. It's nice that the page is short here, so there's not a whole lot of, you know, we don't really have to scroll a lot. Okay, that looks nice. Let's make sure it still looks nice here. Oh, is it? No. Okay. Okay, that's popping that up. So I think the best thing to do is just to add a bottom margin here. That's just the simplest way to solve this for now. Oops. So I think, at least for me, and this is my viewpoint on things, if I'm coming into a system, like an old system, and trying to make things better, and it's probably not even going to be around that much longer, then I'm of the opinion that it's a waste of time trying to make things, in terms of how you're organizing your code and all that, try to make things like really like you would if it was a from scratch project. So a lot of things reusable and easy for other people to understand, right? Like this is just a patch up job, you know, to last us maybe another year until we can have another site. So I have very limited time to work on this, just until October, and then I don't know when I'm going to get another chance to work on it. So since we're just trying to get as much as we possibly can done, that's why I'll do stuff like this, right? Just some inline styles here, because this was the fastest way to solve this problem, a very straightforward way. I'm not really worried about whether or not this is necessarily the technically best way to do it, or, you know, organizationally the best way to do it. So another disclaimer, this is a good disclaimer, these are not tutorials. This is not, hey, I'm doing it the best way possible. This is, I have various jobs and projects to do with different deadlines. This is how I'm getting my stuff done. These are the compromises that have to be made, because a lot of tutorials are trying to show like this is the best way to do it, which is wonderful, and I love those tutorials. But I thought what was maybe lacking in terms of videos was videos of someone saying, I know this is probably not the best way to do it, but here's our deadline and here's all the stuff we have to do. So this is what we're going to do now, and if we end up getting done early, we can always come back and fix it. But for right now, we need it to work. Because it's been my experience over the last like 5 years or so of doing projects is that clients just don't always have the money for you to do things the absolute perfect way. And you have to make a decision. Do I want to just turn down the client? Do I want to get this finished? Do I want to, you know, how do you want to do things, right? I mean, I don't think it's unique to what we do. You know, I'm sure there, you know, when you hire a contractor to work on your house, you know, he'd love to be able to put in, you know, granite and marble and, you know, really nice top of the line everything. And that would look amazing. It would look great in their portfolio, right? But not everybody has the money or the time for that. So I think it's the same way with us, right? It'd be great if we could work on projects and do everything how we would want to do it, you know, completely, you know, cutting edge, doing everything right. But that's just not the reality. So hopefully this shows a little bit of my reality of how I need to work. So I know other people might have, you know, different opinions about that, but I don't know. I'm just practical about it. I don't want anybody to feel bad for just doing the job, you know, getting things done. So long as it works. I do want to say, I'm not saying cut corners and make something that's not a good product. I'm saying just get things done without worrying about little tiny details in terms of code organization. I'll stress over tiny details in the UI all day, right? Because that's the user will see that. All right, but if I had to choose between stressing over UI details or stressing over the organization of my CSS, I'm going to choose the CSS. That's user facing. The odds of another developer ever even editing this code aside from me are probably less than 1% right now. So I'm not worrying about it. Anyway, sorry for me going off on that, but just wanted to kind of explain my my viewpoint on that. Okay, so what do we need to do? Now I got all off track. We need to get this in a better spot. Basically, what I want I want it to be over here on this side, and then we need to figure out what it's going to do when we go to a smaller screen. I don't want it to do this kind of stuff. I'd rather have it be probably on top of this copyright. So let's give this a shot. I think I'm going to structure this differently. So right now we have this column. So we have this on S12, right? So it does stack eventually. Let's change. First of all, I want to change this just to see what it'll look like just with this kind of minor change. So we're going to switch it up, and on medium screens we're going to go full width to 12 columns, and then on large we're going to split it up. Let's see how much space that gives us to work with now. Okay, alright, not bad. I mean, obviously I want it reversed, but okay, so right at that point, I mean, alright, here's our two options. I think we can either make it so that they basically just always stack except on extra large screens, or we could extend these out of their container so that we give them some more space. You know, in particular, like here, you know, let's say we extended them out here and gave them just like a 16 pixel margin on both sides. That would probably be enough space. I think I like the first option. So let's try that. I want to make sure. I think that Materialize did end up adding in an extra class, like an XL class. Let's see if it works. So we're going to go large and then XL. I think that's how they implemented it. For a while they didn't have an extra large class, and you had to just make it yourself, and then it finally got in to a pull request. Okay. So that XL is what, 1200 pixels? When does that kick in? I think it's 1200. Yeah. So we're still getting, some of this going on at certain screen widths. I guess I'm okay with that. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. But what I need to do though is we need to be able to flip these around. So to do that, I want to check out, I had made a class for an earlier project that allowed that easily allowed you, without having to create a lot of extra markup, to flip at certain screen sizes, to flip the order around. So I want to check that out first to see if we can apply that here. It's been a while since I've used it, but it could save us a little bit of time. So we're going to go back to GitHub, and I'm going to go to, I think I showed you this project yesterday, and I don't think it's in the FUS Marcom. I think it's before we made this organization. It is. So it'll be on my my repo. Oh, I just want my profile. There we go. Or it'll be on my profile. Franciscan Square. Okay, so on the Franciscan Square site, I think I had this style. Wow, this is bigger than I thought it would be. That's why I didn't search. I thought I could just scroll through and find it. Hold on. No, I think I remember what I called it. Order. There we go. Okay. So okay, that's what I did. So I think I use flex. Is that my timer? Wow, the timer went off. Okay, so the only thing that I'm really going to change, and I don't want to do this completely finished, but we're really close. The only thing I wanted to change now, well, there are basically two things. I want to make sure that these are kind of on the same line. I'm not sure why they're not right now. I'll just have to check in DevTools and see. I probably have some sort of padding on this or something. So I'm going to check that out, get these on the same line, and then what I'll probably do is just implement some form of this. So what I need to find is where exactly I'm using flex here. So I'll just open this site up in DevTools. I'll check out one of the columns that I'm using this on and just see what's being applied to the parent containers. And that should tell me everything that I need to know about that. And then basically what will happen is the order property here will flip so that on large screens, let's see, 1, 2, No, no, I'm sorry. On small screens, so this media query is saying on small screens, if it has the class of order 1, the order will be 1. If it has the class of order 2, the order will be 2. So what I'll be able to do then is put, and I guess I could put it on here now, and then I'll just copy over everything. Let's see. So so what we'll want is this actually needs to be order 2. We want this to come second, and that needs to be order 1. So even though this should always be 1 based on the markup, what will happen is on a small screen they'll flip-flop so that this one will be above that one. Okay, now let's let me check the time. Okay, yeah, I definitely want to go do some questions now, because I got, I've some people from IT coming over in about 24 minutes. So let me scroll up and get through some of these questions. Okay, Tafari Design says, wow, Visual Studio Code is free, unbelievable. Yay, is it better than Sublime or Atom? I like Visual Studio Code so far. At this point, I think I like Atom better, but that's probably just because of what I have set up in terms of my color scheme and my plugins. So assuming I would have the equivalent plugin set up for Visual Studio Code, I may like that better. I'm not sure. I haven't had it set up yet. So I mean, it took me years to get Atom to the point where I have it now with all these different plugins and things. So I've only been using Visual Studio Code. Aside from the few times I used it a couple months ago, I've only been using it for, what, 7 days? This is day 7 of this project. So maybe I'll get there with it in terms of plugins, and then it can be a fair comparison. Oh, okay. So John Hansen has some good information with what I was saying about font weight and how, this is really clean and easy to read right now on my Mac. But if I were to open the same thing on a Windows machine, it doesn't always look so clear. So John is saying lightweight fonts, light color on a dark background. Generally, it's hard to get a clean font. He says it's all about Windows running browsers, interpolation. There are CSS hacks, but they don't work in new browsers. Okay, yeah, that's been my experience as well. I've tried to use some of the CSS hacks before. It's like anti-aliasing something is the CSS property. I can't remember the full thing now. I always have to look it up. But yeah, it doesn't always result in what you want it to. Hey, Sebastian's here. Hey, Sebastian, how's it going? Sebastian says, .NET looks so messy, or at least this code. Yeah, it's probably just this code. I don't really know. This is the only time I worked with .NET, so I'm not sure, but I mean, this code's kind of messy. I can't say anything about this. I copy and pasted most of this in, so this part is actually my code. But one of the things that's going on that's annoying me right now is this file originally was using tabs and not 2 spaces for indentation, and I'm copying in code that was using 2 spaces for indentation. So my indentation is all messed up, and I haven't gone through and fixed it because I've been made lazy by standard JS and Prettier formatting all my stuff for me. So yeah, so it's definitely a bit messy. But then even up here, like all this stuff, I did not do it. This was way more CSS and JavaScript than I would ever import into anything. Nikki says, do you work with Pomodoro? Sorry, I just joined. Oh, don't be sorry about that. Any questions are welcome. Yes, I do work with Pomodoro. So, oh, I guess it wasn't visible. So this is what I use for Pomodoro. It's just really basic. tomatotimer.com. So I do my normal 25-minute Pomodoro sessions. Between each, we have a 5-minute break. After 4 sessions, do a 10-minute break. So it's a really nice way to break up the work. I find that 5-minute break allows me to think about where I'm at in the project, what I'm doing. Otherwise, it's easy for me to get stuck on one thing, like and keep trying to, let's say, find a bug in this one place without thinking of the other possibilities. That 5-minute break allows me to step back for a second and think, one, like, is this problem even worth all the time that I'm putting into it? And then I can decide, well, maybe not. Maybe it should be put off until later because it's not really that big of a thing. And there are more, high priority issues to deal with. Or I could think, you know what? Maybe I should try this other place to look for this bug or something. So I really like that aspect of it. And it's nice, organization. It allows me to see, like, at the end of the day, I can say, okay, I've done this many Pomodoro sessions. That's good for me. If I haven't done that many, I can think, well, what was I doing? And I, if I look back and say, okay, well, I had 3 meetings today. All right, I know what I was doing. But if I can look back and say, I didn't have any meetings today, what did I do? Like, I don't know, like was I just reading blogs about new frameworks all day or something? Like, so it's kind of like a nice way to keep track of my productivity as well. Okay. Cool. Yeah, if anybody ever wants to know more about the Pomodoro technique and how I track things, so I do use that in conjunction with Trello to kind of give me estimates of my projects. So I've gone over that before on some of the streams, but I'm definitely open to going over it again. Oh, okay. So here's a cool tip. So Nobier is saying, with Emmet, instead of earlier, I typed div like this to get a div, but he said I can just do. Whoa. I don't want that. He says I could have just done this, and oops. Wait a second. Where'd he go? Just type dot and then tab. It's not working for me. Maybe I have to change the setting or something. But at least for right now, it is not working. Maybe if I just add a class, like, there we go. All right, cool. So Nobier was right. I just wasn't doing it right. So if you just type dot and then put your class names, it'll just by default put a div in there. Really cool. Thanks, Nobier. Okay, there's some talk about different editors and which ones are free or not. I haven't downloaded Atom in a long time. It's been on my machines for quite a while. Maybe like a year and a half ago might have been the last time I downloaded Atom. At that point, it was completely free. I'm assuming it's still completely free. Sublime, and this is, I'm just going to summarize what was going on here in the live chat for a while. It seems like you can use Sublime somehow for free, but there's a paid version as well. I don't know what the difference is between the two. It seems like Brackets is also paid, and Visual Studio Code is definitely free. Although it was said that there seem to be ways around paying for things. I'm not going to endorse that. So that's entirely up to you whether you want to do that. But at least officially, you do need to pay for brackets and at least some version of Sublime. Safari Design asks if I'm recording the whole episode. Yes. So all these streams are recorded and they're available on freeCodeCamp. Just within minutes after the stream ends, I put all the videos into one big playlist called Live Coding with Jesse, and then sometimes I split out, and I also have videos from each project in their own playlist. I don't have a playlist for this project yet, but Project 2 does have its own playlist. But usually the stream is kind of at the top of the video list, since I do streams, you know, on an ideal week I do it 5 times a week. So it's never really that far down the list. You can find one of these streams. Brian says, show her some love. So I'm assuming that came when I was talking about my wife and all, her doctor's appointment and everything. So, yeah, thanks. I mean, that's really about all I can do is show her some love, because I'm not, I mean, medically, it's just like, you know, there's some things she can do, like I said, like cut out a lot of caffeine and do the physical therapy and things like that, you know, exercise. You know, but that's a lot of basic things, and I can encourage her, but I can't do it for her. So hopefully everything gets back to normal one day. So I think I talked about this on a stream a while ago, so I'm not going to bring it all up again. But about last October, my youngest daughter was born, and my wife had a rupture when the birth happened, and we were really lucky that my wife and the baby didn't die. But she was sent home from the hospital like the next day or maybe 2 days later, and they never caught that it had ruptured, even though there was all this. I'm not going to go into details, but there was definitely signs that something had happened, but they still let her go home. And so for like a month, we had no idea what was going on, but there were all these problems. So just to cut to the point, she had to have really major surgery. We can't have kids anymore, and it was very traumatic for her. So that's why we're at now, almost a year from when that happened, and she's still having medical issues and, you know, mental health issues. So it's just been really hard for her. You know, I think she thought, and I thought too, that, you know, she'd be completely, you know, kind of over this by now. And I think a lot of other people thought that too. So it's hard because she's not really getting a lot of understanding or sympathy from people, you know, in the family and around her, because they all assume, hey, well, aren't you over this yet? So anyway, I'm sure it'll work out. It's just going to take time. Let's see. Safari Design says, I always feel unmotivated when coding, then my motivation spikes all of a sudden out of nowhere. So yeah, right around the time when I was talking about my wife, I was also talking about my lack of motivation today. And yeah, so I don't know, the motivation's weird. I mentioned yesterday, I think it was maybe it was the day before, who knows. At some time recently, I had mentioned some like stuff about depression and mental health, so I'm not going to redo my whole speech about that. But I think a lot of my lack of motivation is twofold. One, well, aside from everything going on with my wife, which I'm sure is impacting me, I really have been super busy and have not even made an attempt to exercise in weeks. That's definitely hurting me. Also, I'm on a new antidepressant medication, and I'm sure my body's trying to adjust to that. And so that's just, some days are better than others, but right now it's like I just don't want to get out of bed ever. So hopefully it'll all be better in 4 to 6 weeks. So that's what they told me. So Um, right now, caffeine is helping supply some of the lack of motivation. John Hansen says, all the best wishes to your wife's recovery. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Okay, John Hansen clarified. So a couple minutes ago, I wasn't sure. He was referring to sometime I said never, and I couldn't remember what I said. So he clarified and said, you said never about needing to go back into the new homepage to edit it. Yeah, you're right. I should not say never. If I'm lucky, I will never have to. But realistically, I'll probably have to at least once when the URL changes for the new student applications for the prospective students to apply. So I will, well, assuming that this version goes live before the application goes live, which who knows. I don't know. I don't really know if we can get this new stuff live before October, when I have to switch back to Project 1 for a while. I think that would be really ambitious to think that we could get it to the point where it would be good and get approval from everybody that needs to approve it. So it really may not be until closer to, I don't know, maybe realistically, like we're probably talking like December. I don't know. We'll see. I'm hopeful that it'll be earlier than that, but things tend to move really slowly around here. No matter how fast I can build a site, like it just seems like for the big sites like this, it has to go through a lot of hoops to get approval. Sebastian says, last year I had a car accident where I broke my left arm. I had to have surgery to fix my bone, and now I have 5 screws in my arm. I couldn't lift my fingers or hand for almost 3 months and had no sensitivity. Now it's almost fully recovered, still feeling weird, but it's at 99% functionality. I can't lift hard stuff, and my sensitivity is not 100%, but it's okay. All right, so let's see. Wow, and so that was a year ago. Okay, well that's, I mean, I'm sorry that happened to you, but I'm really glad that you brought that up. It's just the idea that at least it's somewhat normal to a whole year later not be fully recovered is, I like that idea. I guess it makes me feel like this is somewhat normal, and, you know, my wife will be okay. I think she'll be okay, but and the doctors think she'll be okay. All right. Okay, so Tafari Design has another question about editors. It says, when working at a company, do they allow you to use your own editors on the company computer? Rohan says, depends on the company. That's exactly what I was thinking as well. Yeah, so it does depend. Here at the university, when I first started working here, it was difficult to get anything on my computer at first because so I didn't have admin access to the computer. Only IT department did. At some point, I finally got admin access because I had submitted a list of a lot of stuff that I would need for development. And at that point, I just came in and talked with some of the people from IT, and we got on the same page about what my development process was like, what I needed, and kind of like how careful I was going to be about everything. And then I was allowed to have access. The condition to that was that I'm not connected like to the main network in some of the ways that other computers are connected. So I was fine with that because I didn't need access to anything, but just in case I happen to screw something up, which I never have, but I don't know, it's possible that it wouldn't spread to a lot of other computers. So that's that was me. So since that point, I've been able to use whatever editors I wanted. The good thing about like Atom and Visual Studio Code is, at least on a Mac, the download process and installation actually doesn't require you to have an admin password, like admin access. I think it's probably has something to do with it being Electron based. because I've noticed that other things that are electron based also do that. So anyway, technically, I guess you could get around it. Yeah, but I have heard of companies where things are really locked down. I talked to a guy that's a developer. He lives in the same city as me, but he actually works up in Pittsburgh. And he said, like, there are some companies that his agency works for that are even really picky about like what linters get used in your editor. Like, so it's they're picky, like down to really minute details, and really in situations where it doesn't make sense that they're that picky. So I guess I'm kind of fortunate in that I get a lot of leeway to pick my tools. And you've seen from project to project, I like to try out different things. So not everybody has it like that. John Pinkney says, is there a way to upload to CodePen a previously downloaded CodePen zip file? I don't know. I've never tried to do that or heard about that being done. So sorry, I really can't give you an answer. Maybe somebody else in the live chat has had experience with that, but yeah, I really have no idea. There's still a lot of talk about the editors, so I'm skipping over a lot of the editor discussion since I don't know, we have so many discussions about editors. I'm just gonna skip. Oh, okay. At some point, Tafari Design said that I should split my screen so that we could see the code and the design at the same time. I could probably do that, but it kind of depends. Like when we're looking at like kind of a more narrow screen, that's fine. But if I want to get a wider view, obviously I can't do that. So that's why I've normally been flipping back and forth. And a lot of times I like to use DevTools. So I don't know, maybe I could have another desktop view that's split and just have that open like as a duplicate and go to that. I'll have to think about it, because I do see some people in other videos that make that work with the split. It's just always seemed to me like I don't have enough space when I'm splitting my screen like that. So but I mean, I could try to give it a shot sometime. Okay, so we have somebody. Somebody put a message in the live chat that are in other characters other than what I'm used to reading. So I'm gonna do a Google Translate really quick to try to get it into something I can understand. And let's see. Okay, so it looks like Mari Sava. So let me know if that's wrong, but this is what I'm getting from Google Translate. So Mari Sava says, hello Jesse, just sitting and watching your video, React Project 2 Day 5. I love it so much that I wanted to say hello for a long time and say thank you. Well, you're welcome. Thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate that. That always makes me really happy when someone appreciates what I'm doing and gets something out of it. So thank you Thank you again for saying that. Mari also says it's 8 p.m. there, so have a good evening. So maybe Mari didn't hear that, my response to that. Maybe later. Maybe Mari can watch the recording or something. But let's see. Tafari Design says, Jesse's code is so neat it makes my mind all fuzzy thinking about freshly Windex glass. Thanks. I don't it doesn't look that neat to me. Like, honestly, this looks a lot more messy than my code normally is, but like I said, normally I have it automatically formatted for me, so I can't really take credit for it. Tafari Design says, is React hard? A lot of companies require that skill nowadays. John B says, hey, John B's here. How's it going? Only way you'll find out is if you try it. See if it's difficult for you or easy. You might be surprised. Go check the React documentation page. They have a tutorial for it. Yeah, definitely. I try it out. I think when I first tried React, I thought it was hard just to like get my mind around the concept and the terminology and things. That was a little bit hard for me, but I watched videos of people doing it and did some tutorials, and then little by little I got used to it. That's probably different, for different people depending on your experiences before trying to learn React. For me, it was a little bit of a challenge, but now that I'm using React, I actually think it's really easy to do things in React. And I mean, we've done, just on this stream alone, we've used several different things. We've done server-side rendered React. We've pulled in data from APIs. We've used Create React App and with React Router. So we've done a lot of cool stuff. On a project I'm doing right now for a course on the side, I'm using Redux. I'm starting to learn React Native, and they all seem really cool. I mean, I'm not going to lie, Redux was probably the most challenging thing so far for me. But still, I've only been exposed to it for, weeks. Yeah, maybe like a month, maybe probably over a month now. But I really haven't been able to dedicate consistent time every day to it. If I had, maybe I'd understand it a bit more right now. But even with all that, I think I have a good grasp of things at this point. And I mean, it hasn't really taken that long. So I say give React a shot. Okay, lost my place. Oh, No Beer says, Jesse, check the right search input. When I clicked it, it redirects the search page. Yeah, right now it does that. So it shouldn't do that. I'm not sure what the problem is. So I am going to have to check that. Yeah, because on the demo site, it doesn't do that. So I'll figure it out. I'll get that working. Oh, No Beer said to try footer copyright margin top 20 pixels. Okay, I'll have to give that a shot later on. Tafari Design asks if I'm a freelance web developer. No, well, I mean, I do some freelance work on the side, but my full-time job as a web developer is at a university. All right, John Hansen said, break the lines out of their container. It's easier and use Flex. No need for media queries. Okay, so I'll have to mess around with Flex with these and see if I can get that working. Oh, okay. Sebastian says in Visual Studio Code, the bottom blue bar, if you click spaces. Oh, cool. And then using spaces, yeah, 2. Okay, so I have 2 now, so it's not. Did it automatically do anything? I can't even tell now. Oh, cool. It looks like maybe it did. So that's definitely 2 spaces now. Cool. Yeah, that looks like it did automatically change everything. All right. All right, Sebastian. Thank you. That, like, it looks so much better to me now. Awesome. Tafari Design said, Jesse, don't tell everyone all your business. We respect your privacy. But also said, I also wish all the best for your wife as well. So, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I know I don't have to tell my business, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel like if I talk about things, it helps me, but it also helps anybody else that may be going through something similar. So, you know, it's all right. I don't mind talking about that stuff. I'm just worried that you all wouldn't want to hear that. Like, you want to hear the code stuff. So I'm worried that I go on too long about it. But otherwise, you know, I don't mind talking about that stuff. And you know, especially too, like about the depression stuff. I really don't mind talking about that at all, because I think people need to talk about that more, and not be ashamed of it. You know, like, you know, you get, if you break your leg, you break your leg. It's fine. Everybody knows you break your leg, and they realize, you know, you're going to walk slow for a while, right? You might have a wheelchair, crutches, right? So if you have depression, it's going to impact your life and how you can do things. But if we never talk about it, you know, people aren't going to know. People are going to realize that's a legitimate thing, and it definitely impacts someone's ability to do things, just like a broken leg would impact it. I mean, not just like, but in a similar way as a broken leg would impact physically how you can walk. You know, depression would impact mentally how you can interact with the world, do your job. So I don't know. So I think as long as we don't, I like the idea of being open with it. I don't like the idea that if you're open with it, you know, you could be discriminated against for jobs and things like that. As long as that doesn't happen, I'm all for people knowing just more about it in general, and I think we could benefit. So for me, right now, I'm not going to lose my job if I have depression. So I'm in a position where I think I can talk about it, you know, to other people and have it, you know, on YouTube. So I am. So I'm going to talk about it. Not all the time, occasionally, you know, and hopefully that can help. But I mean, this thing is mainly about code, so it's always going to be at least like 90% about code, if not more. No Beer said, "Oh, that's so sad to hear about your wife." Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Sebastian says, "I'm so sorry about your wife. Hope she gets well soon." Samson says same. I appreciate y'all. Rohan says best wishes for your family. I really appreciate it. Thank you all. I'll definitely let my wife know that you all are we're wishing her the best and everything. Let's see. Oh, cool. So Mari Sava was the right translation of that. So awesome. Mari Sava says, Jesse, you make my day. Awesome. I'm glad that I could do that. All right, Abhishek says, is it better than brackets for web development? So is Visual Studio Code better than brackets? I've never used brackets, so I can't say for sure. But so far, I like Visual Studio Code. Okay, John B says, on the subject of being worried about space with Visual Studio Code, you can toggle word wrap with the Option key and Z, or on Windows the Alt key and Z. Let's do that right now so I don't forget. So Option Z. Cool. You know what? Until you said that, I didn't even realize that I did not have word wrap on, because I've had it on by default in Atom for so long. That it didn't even occur to me, and that's a lot nicer now. Thank you. I'm learning a lot of cool stuff about Visual Studio Code. I'm glad I decided to use this for the stream. Okay. All right, well, I'm going to wrap the stream up because the people are here from IT check things out. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow. Have a great day.